every life has a spark, a truth the heart never forgets.
And sometimes one conversation is enough to bring it back.
No ego, no noise, just real insights that inspire and brighten the path ahead.
Because living with love isn't an idea, it's a choice that we make every day.
So today, we are speaking about water, the element that decides whether a region grows or collapses. With us is Karl Albrecht Waldstein, the inventor behind Desert Greener and managing director of Seawater GmbH.
A man who has spent years wrestling with one question: how do we turn seawater and sunlight into life again?
So, Karl, welcome to Swiss Impact.
Hello, Ben. I'm very happy to be with you today.
Thank you, Karl. So, Karl, before technology, before machines, take us to the moment when water stopped being a global issue and became your own calling.
This was in Spain almost 17 years ago. And we heard news that the interior parts of Spain are drying out and going into desertification. And in front of us, there was an endless abundance of the sea, water, incredible amounts of water. And we thought it cannot be that the enormous amounts of water in front of us cannot solve the problems behind us. We have to find a way. So this was the starting point.
Exactly. So, in your opinion, how bad is the global water situation in reality? And why do you think people still underestimate it?
I would say the underestimation of this problem is a local topic. So in Central Europe, we underestimate it because in Switzerland, in Austria, we are, you can say, in the Kuwait of water. And therefore, we don't have any water problem. But in large parts of the world, nobody would underestimate it. And the problem is not static, it's dynamic. The global growth cover areas larger than the Americas, and they grow every year 3 times in the size of Switzerland. So imagine you tell all people in Switzerland, pack your luggage and go, because in 1 year Switzerland will be a desert completely. There's just stones and dust. And this would be incredible, but exactly this happens 3 times every year in other areas of the world. And when we think about water, we as Central Europeans think about drinking water. But this is not a topic because everybody in the world has drinking water. Without it, you would be dead in 72 hours. But drinking water is 0.1% of total water consumption, almost nothing. But you need 1,000 times the amount of water for food. Per capita, you need 1,000 to 2,000 cubic meter for food per year. Now, the global average we have is 500 cubic meter. So just compare, 1,000 to 2,000 is the food range, and we have in average 500. It means we are at the half of the amount which is the minimum request for food supply. This is really a very, very dramatic situation. And it is increasing.
So if we don't act, then what can happen in 10, 20 years in terms of water, food, and basic stability on our planet?
I think you see about 30% of global surface is dry land. The other part is sea. Yes? And the dry land in, let's say, in the mid of the century will be by 40% deserts. To make it even worse, we have a second problem beside the growing deserts. And this is the topic of the dying of irrigation. You will perhaps know that we have increased agricultural space in the last decades by 20% by gaining new agricultural areas via irrigation. And right now, 20% of global agricultural area is irrigated land supplied by irrigation, and 80% is supplied by rainwater. But the 20% supplied by irrigation deliver 50% of the food production of the world. So they are 4 times as efficient than the areas supplied by rainwater. but all the irrigated areas will collapse. They will collapse because increased salinity in the soil. And this is a development we are already in. And this means 50% of global food production will collapse. Till the end of century, we will have 4 billion people in Africa, but agricultural space will shrink to 1/4. This means that 16 Africans have to live from the area from which now one lives. This cannot work. So this is something we can fight now, but if we start to fight it in 20 years or 30 years, it will be without real impact.
Right. Karl, now tell us, please, what Desert Greener is doing. So, what is your vision and mission? So, how do you tackle this problem?
We have 5,000 cubic kilometers, 5,000 billion cubic meters water use in the world a year. And we have at least to double it. We have at least the minimum is we have to double water supply of the whole world. Just imagine this dimension. Now, the only source for this can be the sea. If you look at the seawater desalination now, only 13 cubic kilometers are coming from seawater desalination. So 13 of 5,000 is nothing. That this type of seawater desalination cannot save us. First of all, the energy consumption is very high. This makes it very expensive. And the running costs demand a lot of maintenance, of service. So these problematic technologies, they work fine in many respects, but this is a limit. It's a luxury good. But in the large scale for humanity, it's unaffordable on this level. So what we need is to find a way that the seawater solves the problem, but it must be cheap or almost for free. So this is the challenge. We studied the natural cycle of water, and we recognized that the main force to desalinate seawater is the sun. The sun desalinates every year 65 cubic kilometers. That is 13 times human consumption. And it's the main driving force in the natural cycle of water. So we said, okay, let's find a method that we copy the natural cycle of water, but in such an efficient way that we use all tools possible from modern technologies and science to increase the process, to speed it up, to make it more efficient, but to leave it in the main as a process of the natural cycle of water, because this process is running for free. And we just have to keep it in a controlled way that we can harvest all the sweet water coming from it. And we are becoming so efficient that this is really an efficient way of seawater desalination, that we have to bring down running costs to zero, because otherwise it will not be affordable. And the installation and implementation expenses have to be refinanced by the value increase of the land. When we change the land, also the value changes. We have a system which is in a highly efficient way separating distilled water from brine, so splitting seawater into salty brine and sweet water, and the distilled water then can be used for whatever purpose we want.
And so let's keep it very simple. If I stand next to your plant, Desert Greener plant, for one full day, what do I see happening? So from sunlight to a glass of water, what's happening there?
Okay, so we have two different sizes, two different models. One is for the small demand, one is for the big demand. For the small demand, we have a parabolic curved mirror, focusing all solar radiation into one tube, and the whole device will be up to 4 meters high. And the mirror will be tracking the sun, so following the sunlight. And there you will see seawater going into the device, and on the other side, distilled water and the brine in different tubes will leave the device. And the distilled water then you can take for further use and decide if you want drinking water, then you mix 100:1. Or if you need it for other purpose, for example, if you put it on fields, it is better than the present irrigation water because it cannot increase salinity of the soil. And the best thing is you have 300,000 kilometers of coastal line globally. 60,000 kilometers are desert coastal lines, so plenty of area to start with. And then we can make pipelines to the interior. When we build the pipeline and collect investors for this, we demand from the government that right and left of the pipeline, 10 square kilometers should be given into our economic disposal. And then we can create extremely precious land. Yes. And this refinances the pipeline. And the other way to do it is we can use the water not as water. We can send the distilled water and also the brine through electrolysis and create hydrogen, green hydrogen. And we have enough space there in the area that we can install a lot of photovoltaic energy supply. So again, solar energy for the electrolysis. And then we produce enormous amounts of green hydrogen. And if we then add the collection of nitrogen, then we get ammoniac. And ammoniac is not only for 85% of the fertilizer production of the world responsible, but ammoniac is also the fuel of the future. And the only emissions from an ammonia-run engine is nitrogen and water vapor. So no emissions anymore. And the total investment would be about 500 million euros, but then we would make an annual turnover of 1.2 billion, and we will have no running costs. So this is running for 30 years or more, and so we have 70 times return of investment, and this easily can afford that we put such installation into the desert and make a 500 kilometers seawater pipeline and can pay it from selling the ammoniac. Yes. So this is a very easy tool that we ourselves can make enormous pipeline systems with this.
Your technology is solving so many issues. It's amazing. But people usually talk about or know about reverse osmosis. So, what are the two, three big differences between that and desert greener? And the one which you want the viewers to know about?
So the first thing is we have zero emissions. Nothing goes back to the sea, nothing goes to the air. The mass of reverse osmosis is running by electric energy coming from burning of fossil fuels. It's less than 1% is running on wind or solar energy. So reverse osmosis is already having the problem of air pollution, and then it works well up to 4% salinity. The seas have average 3.5% salinity. So normally you should not make reverse osmosis with pure seawater. And the better systems now can go up to 7% salinity, but then they have to drop the water back to the sea. So between 50 and 90% of the water they draw, which is quite an expensive process, and put chemicals into it, they have to release to the sea. So 50 to 90%. We release nothing to the sea. We consume everything. We use all the water, and we don't care about the amount of salinity. We work with every salinity. We could even go to reverse osmosis facilities and say, please stop wasting the seas. Give us your wastewater. We can do it.
Let's become practical, let's choose one coastal farming region and imagine desert greener plant is running there for 5 years. What changes for farmers in their daily lives will be?
You see, first of all, they will not have any more problem with increasing salinity. Then the question is, as I said, it's a blank sheet of paper. Yes, so you can do everything with the water before you give it to the plants. And so we can make water which is of the highest quality from healing spas. Yes, we can, all this is possible. Yes. And therefore, this, I think, would be a big impact for every farmer.
I hear so much passion, in what you are doing, and so much knowledge and so much depth. It's really incredible. But let's go do one more example. So we were talking about farmers. Now, if you imagine a growing coastal city, how does life shift when water becomes clean, stable, and produced right where people live?
Water we need for absolute everything. So, for example, 1 kilogram of coffee needs 27,000 liters of water to get it. One car needs 400,000 liters of water. Even a laptop needs 20,000 liters of water. If the water is not there for the production, you cannot produce. And this means that if you have no water, you have, first of all, you have no chance of industrial development. You have no chance of industrial production. You have no chance for most of the energy supply systems. And this is very, very problematic because these countries who have no water, they are always chained to poverty because they cannot develop. In Africa, 40 billion working hours per year get lost for people walking around for carrying water. And this is the total work time of France.
So, no, but let's talk business. So, are you selling machines or are you selling water?
We are just selling the products. We are selling water, we are selling ammonia, green hydrogen, we are selling chlorine, we are selling caustic soda, we are selling the products, we are selling sea salt, we are selling all the products from our production, because if we go and tell the people, trust in a new technology you have never heard about, yes, this is a difficult topic.
I know how about you, Ben, but I'm just sitting and enjoying and learning a lot from Carl right now. So, Carl, what was your hardest moment on this journey? Maybe you thought this might not work. And what kept you going? Was there such moment that you had some kind of deep?
It was first more like a hobby, yes, you can say, let's see if we can create something. And when we had the first structure modeled, how it could work, we were absolutely sure that we are not the first to have this idea. Somebody has already done this. We are not a genius, yes, we are not even experts, not technicians, not experts on physics. So you can say a miracle that we have developed something which could work, but that, like children who in the wood all of a sudden find a treasure, yes, we have found something which gives us a huge responsibility, because this can be really the solution for big problems having no real solutions now. And so I understood that I have a mission. I have to do it. Yes, it's not something I can do as a hobby. I have to be prepared to sacrifice everything and uh, to devote my whole life on the success of this.
When
And
did that happen, Carl? Like how many years back?
2008, 2009, yes,
Okay.
very many years ago. And then I looked for investors. A
Yeah.
commercial project, it is when you start production and sell it to the.
Hmm.
Until that time, it is a scientific research project. So
Hmm.
don't look for investment, look for financing for scientific research. There are funding units for this. Look there, go there.
Hmm.
Okay, so I applied for funding. And so finally, our top expert for funding in this agency started to research unofficially. Can you tell me why exactly this project will always be refused? And they said, don't try it again. You will always be refused again. And I tell you why. Because the biggest water producers of seawater desalination are huge European companies in France,
Mm.
Suez, Veolia. The biggest player in the world water market is Nestle. Many other big companies are supplying to
Mm.
this. And of course, all these companies have their ears and eyes in the funding institutions. And it was decided that you will never get funding, because they are scared. I'm not
Yeah.
so that I say we have to take all the money and ruin other businesses. No, join in and get rich. Yes. So we are open for that. If we all work together, perhaps we can make an impact big enough. But this is necessary. We have to join forces, all of us. And therefore, I don't want to be a threat to the present economy. I want to be a chance for everybody, also every of the big companies.
So then let's zoom out a little bit and we ask you a few other type of questions. The first one is, so when we strip away nationalities, jobs, titles, bank accounts, who are we in your eyes?
Physically spoken, we are water. and an add-on, you can say, yes. But I think the most important thing is that we are spiritual beings. The stuff of water is a different one, because water is the life, and everything, every life is coming from water. Every life demands permanent supply from water, and every water returns to the sea again. So this is some magic speciality. And I think that we, as a human beings, we are the combination of this energy here in this simulation process with the spirit, with the spiritual being collected with it, combined with this. And the time here on earth is a time where we are undergoing some examination. And this is the purpose of life.
I
Okay.
love that, because when scientists and inventors believe that we are spirit, it's definitely hope.
Exactly. And you mentioned love. So what is true love for you, and how does working on Desert Greener connect you to that?
You see, um, I must say that my access to love, I think I was also, people are different, and I was in some way created, obviously, that I easily love. Yes, I love people. I have a very positive attitude to everybody. Yes, so I'm very open. I love the people, not just some, but I love the people, and I love the nature, and I love Earth. But I'm also a very religious person, and I had the huge advantage that I could spend a whole day with Mother Teresa many years. Yes, and we spoke about a lot of things. And in the end, she gave me a small little card, and she said, "This was my way." And the way, and there were 4 lines on this card, and the 4 lines were: "The fruit of silence is prayer. The fruit of prayer is faith. The fruit of faith is love, and the fruit of love is service." And this was very amazing for me to read it, and very amazing also to see that everything started with silence, the fruit of silence. This was the beginning, yes? So, uh, where do we have silence? So the way of Mother Teresa, which led her to full joy and happiness inside, and being a well of joy from so many people, yes, started from the silence. And I think this is something we should really think about, and that we should give silence a space in our life. It is very important, and then to go this way.
For those who didn't find their purpose yet, because we clearly see you are on your journey, on your mission, you found that golden ticket journey, we call it your mission, what you're doing for the planet, and you're also a very loving person. How one can find the purpose if they are still searching? Any advice?
You should look for others. Forget about yourself. Let others take care for yourself. Take care for others. And then you will find the spring of happiness and joy. Yes. It is very important to understand that this is our nature. Yes. That we get to happiness when we create happiness of others. And then in reflection of their joy, the joy comes to us. And this, I think, is a very good way to find the meaning in life.
Exactly.
Wow, that's the perfect finish, I think, of the TV show, Carl. Thanks so much for joining us today, for your courage, for your impact on the planet, for your faith, for the service, for your love. So thank you so much.
It's a pleasure. Yes, I hope that we will make the Desert Greener project successful. I hope that we will make a big impact. Thank you.
Thank you, Carl. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing this space with us today.
Remember, real impact begins the moment you stop running from who you are.
Let today's story remind you that every soul carries light, even through darkness.
Until next time, stay open, stay human, and lead with love.